Our purpose is to teach the pain in the church education teachings, so we want to be able to teach it in a very simple, easy way. To do that, we need to understand it more clearly. Therefore, we would like to ask you some detailed questions, if that is okay. Thank you very much. You taught the pain some years ago, and we listened carefully to that teaching. We understood from the teachings that the pain in the body comes about through fields oscillating in the muscle tissues, and that this creates a kind of alternating current, AC, and that the tissues around the pain have a steady current flow and not oscillating. Then you said that the double coils, magnetic and gravitational, in the pen is creating alternating current, AC, and that this current is directed through the tip, which is pointed at the place where the pain is. The copper in the pen connects to the copper in the muscle tissue and nerve tissue, creating a field link, and they start transferring fields. That there is no need to touch the skin because the flow of the pen will automatically find the oscillating fields of the pen in the muscle. The magnetico-gravitational fields in the pen balance out the magnetico-gravitational fields in the nerves so they don't send back signals of disturbance to create pain. In a way, it tricks the nerves not to send pain to that area. Is our basic understanding correct? This is the first part.
Maybe if we redefine it, that is understood in the term of plasma, it'll be much easier.
Talvez se nós redefinirmos isso em termos de plasma, seria muito mais fácil.
The pain pen has the present pain pen which you produce with a nano-coated material has a specific characteristic that in essence, it's weaker in gravitational and stronger in magnetical in one sense on one layer, and stronger in gravitational and weaker in magnetical in the other. You have the copper wire inside, and you have a nano copper on top. You create a magnetic field which in essence is weaker than the energy which is the pain of the body, and the pain which has a higher energy would deliver its energy to the pen absorbed by the nano layer, trying to reach the copper fields. And the pen become weaker partner compared to the pain inside. And that's how you take the pain out. It doesn't send a message to the brain that don't send it. It takes the pain out that the body can repair the damage. This is the correct way to understand it. Is an interaction of two plasmatic fields. The gans of the body inside, which is like a virus, has a more energy, and the pen, which is weaker by the copper inside and the nano layer is stronger outside. So it drains out the magnetic field energy of the pain inside into the pen, and the nano layers absorb it to itself. And this is how the pain is taken out. It doesn't send a message to the brain not to send any more pain. It literally, because it takes the pain out, pain creates a barrier for repair. The body immediately in a point of damage creates the condition of the repair, and that's why the pain goes. Or sometimes the pain is due to tension pressure on the cell, and the pain, when it takes that energy out, then the pain is not there to be felt. It's very much, a pain is very much like a virus we see in corona. It's a package of energy, but sits across the environment located in the body. With a pan, we create that water from outside, we drain it out. And because it's drained out, the body immediately creates the repair condition, and you might have to use it 2 or 3 times, because as the cell repairs, it creates its own pain, and the pen can take it out. The pain pen is exactly how we handle the viruses. The virus is the energy of the pain inside the body, and the pen is the water we put outside to extract it, or the pads we put outside to extract it. The copper inside is weaker, the nano layer is stronger. In a way, the energy of the copper being weaker inside attracts the energy of the plasma of the GANs directly through the nano layer field strong into it. And then it gets absorbed by the nano layer, and then it gets disposed of. This is the correct way of understanding it. Of the interaction of plasmatic fields. In plasma fields of the GANs of the body, there is no AC/DC, there is no alternative current and the direct current. Everything is in the motion of the magnetic field. And this is what has to be understood, not to see it and then try to translate it into the matter state that you understand. It's a new understanding, understand it as it is, not to translate it back into a matter state for you to make sense, but in fact becomes totally wrong. This is a fundamental point in all the teachings. When you work with the plasma, only consider the plasma interaction, not trying to transfer it and translate into a matter state, AC and DC. In plasma, there is no alternative current. It's always DC. And AC comes when you interact with a matter state. The body of the man is always in a very low level DC current of plasma, which we don't have in the matter state, and it always has a heartbeat. And this is how life is generated. A DC current with a heartbeat, which creates that pulse of a plasma, but not a frequency in a matter state. This is the fundamental work of the body of the man. You have the flow of the magnetic field in the body, but you have a heartbeat which creates that pulse of fields to have different strength. And this is different than when you have a AC or a DC, that you have a what we call frequency on it. In the matter state, we see the penetration of the field by vibration of the electrons. In the plasma state, we have the continuous flow, and we create pulses that continuous flow, it releases its energy through interaction. In a way, if you look at it, it's like a balloon which you keep on hitting it, and the field will flow in the balloon, but there is no current. This is what most of the knowledge seekers have not comprehended about the difference between the work of the plasma and the AC and DC, and that's why you define it like this, that it changes to AC or DC. We don't have AC DC in plasma flow, but we have a continuous flow with the pulses that pulses by compressing the magnetic field, it creates them to interact with each other and create friction and release of energy. That's how the body of the man has a heart and a blood flow, and this is how, through the lymph flow, we release energy to ourselves. That's why when we stop the heartbeat, the life stops. This is the fundamental change or difference between matter state and the plasma state. And the body of the man is in the plasma state. Earth works in the plasma state. The sun works in the plasma state. It continuously radiates, but through the heartbeat, decide what strengths are released in different directions at the same time.
Uh, like for example, in Chinese medicine, we there's a let me go to the beginning here. Is it correct that the pen can only help certain types of pain, like injuries? Like for example, in Chinese medicine, this is called excess condition. Would the pen be draining the excess, or is this something totally different? What about deficient conditions? So can the pen work on chronic, dull, etching pain in the muscles that are due to weakness in the muscle tissue? For example, low back pain where the muscles are in spasm due to weakness. And is there a special way to use the pen to help muscles that are weak and etching? And once you said that you could hold the pen in both of your hands and direct the fuse to where the pen is. So any advice on how we can do that?
There are pain pens made in different ways for different applications, for different conditions. The pain pens which you buy from Keshe Foundation is not at all any shape or form the pain pens you make yourself. The pain pens, especially the latest batch which is left Keshe Foundation, and there's a new batch is getting. The new batch is getting built in the next, I think, couple of months, because we make several hundred at a time, and then every couple of months, as they are sold, the new batch is made with the newest structures or of the same of the past. The new pens which Keshe Foundation will release is specifically for inflammation. For example, we announced it on Thursday. Is specifically for pain, that you can apply it anywhere. The problem with most of the people who have pain is that they do not realize there is a pain and there is an inflammation. You can get rid of the pain, but you don't get rid of the inflammation, the pain comes back. Or you get rid of the inflammation, but the pain has left in the environment, in the energy of the pain is in the environment of the inflammation, and it stays for a long time, it creates a secondary inflammation. This is where the new pens, now before we always sell the pain pen, now we sell an inflammation pen. We will do a new cycle of pain pens where, for example, lower back usually has an inflammation with a pain. Now we developed a technology that what we call inflammation pain is just for the inflammation. And the pain, the new pens for pain is just for the pain. And we most probably release a pain inflammation pen in next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because the trials are more or less complete. And this will show you most of you suffer pain back or from other pains, but it's usually connected with inflammation. You don't take the inflammation, so you say it works, it doesn't work. The pain pens work on everything, but you don't sort out the inflammation. And now we have released this, that even if you have a joint pain for 10 years, whatever, if you follow the procedure, and we release ganses which are for this purpose. And these will be marketed in the next 2-3 weeks. We have completed our trials. And as I said in one of the teachings, I deliberately tested these because I have had a massive pain joint for years since Dubai. I got injured or whatever in Dubai. And in less than 3 days, there is no pain. I was one of the volunteers who took it up. And this is a new understanding which we transferred 2-3 years ago. But now, as I was in the lab to produce the materials and conditions for it, now we are completed it and it'll be marketed. You can buy pens or ganses from the foundation that you use it, and you'll alleviate all the inflammation and the pain. And this is where sometimes work, it sometimes doesn't work, because you don't sort out the inflammation, even in the joints, even the arthritis. And we have tested again. I had an arm injury for 28 years. And again, in 2 days, the arm injury has gone using the new development. We will market this most probably next week or the week after. And the effectiveness of this new inflammation pain and pain pens you will feel it immediately, especially through the ganses which will be marketed by the Keshe Foundation. And this is why some pens work, some pens don't work. Now we clearly define it, and you can feel the difference.
So maybe going along in this line, Mr. Keshe, to continue, there is one more question here about this, that it says that the question is, are there hidden properties in the pen that we do not know about? Once you thought that the nanomaterial has plasmatic carbon-14, which makes connection with the universal energy. So by holding the pen, do we attract universal and cosmic energies? How can we convert them to be able to heal our bodies or even feed ourselves?
We know we produce graphene. In certain cases, depends how you have created the nano material. Not all the nano-coated wires in the paint pens create graphene, and a combination of interaction of the fields of the graphene and the nano copper sometimes, very rare times, lead to creation of carbon-14. Because the carbon-14, if you understand it, is in a scientific way is iron, and a combination of the connections to iron. Because if you take the carbon-12 and you go to carbon-14, and if you connect or multiply 4 elements of carbon-14, you get 56, which is iron. And part of the structure of the plasmatic condition of our blood, hemoglobin, has that property that absorbs energy from cosmos through the carbon-14 F56. This is why part of the teaching very soon, when we go into essence of creation from 21st of March, we teach this, that you don't need to eat food. This is part of the teaching, will come up very soon, because carbon-14 in a cosmic way is the carrier of the cosmic rays in a specific combination in interaction with the plasma of the iron in the body of the man will increase the absorption of the cosmic rays. And this is one of the reasons mankind in space we know will change his blood due to presence of iron and its subdivision to carbon-14. And this is how we know man in space, in the depth of a space, will not die. Even our amino acid combination might change, but through the interaction of the carbon-14 iron composition of the blood, man will survive without any oxygen, without any food in the space, as he will change and converse to use of the fields of the universe through his blood combination. You want to translate?
Yes, please. Então,
before you translate,
yes.
you got to understand these are the hidden technologies and knowledge which we will release from 21st of March as part of the larger teaching of the what we call universal community or man to be able to live in universe. This is how we alleviate the fears of space travel, because man carries blood, and that blood in its structure of the protein has iron, and that iron as a plasmatic condition will absorb energies of the universe, that even if the protein goes through the conversion, the essence of the protein of iron of the man will keep the man alive across the universe. These are the teachings which will come, which has never been known to man. You have to know how you survive in space, and we start teaching gradually. You have to understand something important. South America, Brazil, Chile, which has been the focus of our work, especially, is because the initial travels of the space use this area extensively. There is a reason for it, and in due time, we'll explain as part of the teaching why South America has got such a huge traffic of the UFOs. It is not that they come to take anything, but a combination of the fields of the Southern American continent, especially Brazil, in the depth of Amazon, has the characteristics in transferring energies of carbon-14 into the, it's like a natural reserve. It's something that, like you go to a spa to warm up or to feel good. This is the place where energy taps off the universe as one of the what they call fuel stations. And this is why frequently South America is visited by outside, because it's where vast amount of energies are absorbed for deep space travel.
We have a question here that continuing here. It says, you said in the video where you explain how the pen works, and you said in this video the pen works just like the power generator because of the double coils of the magnetic and gravitational fields, and that it can transfer power wirelessly. If I point the pen at a light bulb, does it make enough alternative current to light it up? Theoretically, is it possible to transfer the alternative current energy to the light? The copper coils in the pen should make a plasmatic connection to the electric copper wires in the wall that go to the light. Is it possible? Any guidance on how to do it?
When we say as a generator, not as a generator as you understand with the AC current. It's a plasmatic generator. And this is what we understand. If you can create a plasma light bulb, and then you put your pen towards it, yes, you make a connection. Some people randomly have tested trying to create a transfer of fields with the paint pens some times ago, and it doesn't work because you have to have the right strength to interact with. The paint pen works with the light of the muscle of the man when he's in pain, but very, very seldom, unless something is connected directly to the light bulb and the strength of the field, you don't see any interaction. Because paint pen is a plasmatic energy generator of itself, and the energy produced is in a specific way because of the coil turn. It's not the AC provider of the energy that interacts with the light bulb. There's a very big difference. One is a matter state plasma, one is a plasma from the GANS state of or nano state of. And you got to understand that especially the present LED lights is absolutely zero interaction, more or less.
Então, okay, so I'll make the last question, this last
Years
part.
ago, we did a test on a tungsten nano-coated wires. And usually we could find interaction if the old tungsten wires, light bulbs were used, if you remember. It used to be like a spring and like a triangle or four corners. And because we replicated the tungsten wire exactly like itself, we nano-coated it. And we used to be able to interact with the light bulb. But that was a very special cases, and we had to make very sure the right way, everything's correct to interact.
So still in these lines of the pain, we have a question about chronic pain, and it says the bigger question that will come up in the teaching on the church is what to do for people with chronic pain conditions. What about the pen pads? Don't they use infinite loops instead of coils? Do these systems help with healing the underlying cause? This is really the big question to answer. The GANS patches are perhaps more appropriate, I don't know. But you have to know which GANs to use ratios, and I think you have to have the amino acids added back into the GANs. Is this correct?
You have to understand why you call it chronic pain. What's the reason of it? And again, as was said, you have to understand where the pain is, which muscle, and whereabouts in the muscle. Then you can make a patch that it fits it. There is a need to understand a lot. When people say, oh, you made the patch for me, it doesn't work. Because when we make a patch, there's a general patch which Keshe Foundation sells. But if I make a patch for a chronic condition, I ask maybe 50, 100 questions before I make a patch for it. Because you have to understand the depth of the connection of the pain and the position and how long and what for. Many chronic pain of the body is to do with a specific tissue in the body that no one considers. and become chronic because doctors don't have a solution for it. They don't understand how to take it. But in fact, if you make a right gas with it, within minutes, the pain disappears. And the beauty of it is, even if it, most of them create some kind of paralysis, the person just walks. Doesn't matter how long they've been paralyzed with. You have, when you come to chronic pain, you have to understand the reason, the cause, the position, and the interaction of the fields in that position that they can make a right patch. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It's because the ganses, what they call the ganses you have with the patch or whatever, is not of it to interact with it. You haven't got the right material in your patch. Doesn't matter even if you have an amino acid. You repair around it what the muscle tissues are, but you don't repair the actual cause, and then they come back. Chronic fatigue, which is a general body pain that people pain everywhere. This has to be handled totally different way than chronic pain in location. You cannot change FMS and what they call CVS or CCVS out of the body of the person if you don't follow a specific procedure. We have one of my secretaries in Europe. He was paralyzed for 15 years with CVS and CFS, which means if he got up to brush his tooth in the morning, he needed the whole morning to recover just to brush. If he made a cup of tea, he needed 2 or 3 hours to recover from just making the tea. And in 3 days, he started working 15, 18 hours a day, getting the right system for his condition, building the right system for his condition. And because of that, he said, for 15 years, I was literally paralyzed. Now I want to serve. And he became my personal secretary in Belgium for nearly 7, 8 years. And he worked 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day. He couldn't stop anymore. He said, 15 years I sat there. And he was suffering from, he had doctors literally gave him certification for being chronic, couldn't do anything. And it took 3 days. You have to understand what you're doing when it comes to chronic. It's not just that you make a patch and it has to work.